Hi, so to our viewers of Equinoxe Television. It's 6 p.m. by City Clock. It's time for the news, and you're all welcome. We begin right away with our major stories. At least 7 persons have lost their lives in an accident which occurred over the weekend, precisely on the Douala-Yaoundé highway around Puma. The accident happened after a collision between 2 private vehicles, and in Douala in Makepe Misoke, where the local inhabitants are decrying the deplorable state of roads in that area. And out of Cameroon in Nigeria, floods continue in that part of that neighboring country, and running water have swept away over 600 persons so far. Those are our major stories, viewers. Stay with us for details and more. Welcome back, viewers, to this edition of the news. We begin right away with this sad news segment. We told you on the headlines that at least 7 persons have died in a road accident which occurred precisely in Puma on the Douala-Yaoundé highway. The accident happened over the weekend, and it was after a collision of 2 private vehicles, as a staffman Smart Njikan Gabriel tells us in the report which comes up next.
At the Edea District Hospital premises, several family members gathered to get information about the loved ones who were involved in a ghastly car crash on Saturday night, breaking Sunday. The senior divisional officer of the Sanaga Maritime Division, Cyril Ivan Abondo, who was at the Edea District Hospital to console families whose loved ones had perished in the course of the accident, talked about the circumstances which led to the head-on collision between the 2 cars.
Cet accident implique donc un véhicule.
The accident was between a car leaving from Edea to Yaoundé and another coming from Yaoundé. There was a head-on collision between the 2 cars. Unfortunately, due to the shock, there was fire. Before the army rescue team could come and put off the flames, it was already late. The incident that took all by surprise saw a total of 7 persons losing their lives. We have 4 persons in the car leaving from Edea to Yaoundé, and 3 persons in the car that was coming from Yaoundé. The passengers in the car were all burnt, just their bones were left. Apart from those who died as a result of the head-on collision, those who were wounded have been admitted in the Edea District Hospital, while serious cases were transferred to Douala. The accident has been blamed on overspeed and reckless driving by the 2 drivers.
And we also told you in the headlines that in Douala, precisely at Makepe Misoke, the local population is decrying the deplorable state of the roads in that area after a broken bridge that causes also floods whenever it rains. Our reporter Lucy Liengu Essien made a stopover at Makepe Misoke and now tells us the ordeal of the local population there.
This is Makepe Musoke in the Douala 5 subdivision. Inhabitants are complaining of the deplorable situations they are facing, the deplorable conditions they are living in. Behind me, you can see a broken bridge called Pont Cassé. They say they have been living in this condition for over years. After the destruction of the bridge in 1987 due to floods, the last was reconstructed in 2007. Last year, 8th of August, government officials who came visiting promised to build a bridge in February 2021, but to no avail. The population are equally complaining that their children are forced to go through this bridge to school.
This is a bridge that crossed to a government school where children cross that bridge to go to school and they learn primary, nursery. How can they cross this bridge to be in that school? It's a government school. It's a government school. It's a government school. The government understand that there's a pond, there's a beach that close to meet the Cameroonians in a certain situation. Government don't know that. We are not have any government in this country.
Aside from the dilapidated bridge, inhabitants of Misoke decry the bad state of their road leading to several neighborhoods.
I've been here for over 10 years now. Regarding this road, I'm not really happy because if you look for yourself, at times you will see caterpillars coming to like grade the road, and we think maybe they want to tar it, but at the end, it all end up like this. When it rains here, you cannot penetrate this stretch of road.
The bridge, according to the population, has led to the death of their brothers and sisters, which they cannot count. They are calling on the government to look into the situation. Equinoxe Television, Jires Yopa and Esia Lucy Liengu.
Thank you, Lucy, for that report. We now talk health. Penile cancer. It is the cancer that affects the male organ or reproductive organ of a human being. At least 1% of men in our society are affected by penile cancer, and health officials advance poor hygiene and multiple sex partners as one of the major causes of penile cancer. Our staff lady Immaculate Fogwe has more.
According to the World Health Organization, about 36,068 new cases of penile cancer have been registered worldwide in 2020. Though not very common, experts warn that the condition could become fatal if it's not diagnosed early.
Nous avons des statistiques locales.
It becomes very deadly when it's spread. So, whenever you notice something unusual on your penis, visit a specialist. Multiple sex partners and poor hygiene are some of the major risk factors. Some of our patients have several sex partners and they even carry out unprotected sex. Worse still, after that, they do not even take out time to wash their penis properly and equally urinate immediately. Whenever the penis is washed, it stops bacteria from accumulating. For some other patients suffering with this condition, it is because they have not been circumcised.
Ça empêche donc aux bactéries, aux virus de s'accumuler.
The treatment options are based mainly on the stage and grade of the cancer. These cancers, however, can't be removed completely through radiation or surgery. Treatment is aimed at keeping the cancer in check.
And now, in economy, Cameroonian employers who are based in the country have called on the government to create a pool for the transformation of their products. This featured, among other problems, hindering the transformation of locally made products in the country. As staff man for me, Armstrong Sanda tells us more.
Meeting in what they call employers debate, members of the Cameroon Employers Association (GCAM) did an autopsy of the Cameroonian economy. Digging further, members identified 4 key factors hindering the transformation and structuring of the economy. According to economist Celestin Mongang, these factors include the absence of true love, brain drain, the time accorded to conflict in families and in the society, as well as the deficiency in good leadership. Participants insist that more needs to be done in order to help actors migrate from small-scale to large-scale farmers, which is strategic for the country's economy.
And to be able to do this, we need to have arable land. The government has to look at the actors who are in agro-industry, see what they need, especially land, and how to make it easy for production. Government needs to create pools and see how products that are produced can be transformed.
Another guest speaker, renowned economist Dr. Dieudonné Isomba, added that Cameroon needs a monetary policy and a commercial policy to add to the already existing budgetary policy for a stronger and a robust economy.
Nous n'avons qu'un seul levier, la politique budgétaire.
To citizens and public stakeholders, the employers meeting in Douala called for a paradigm shift in mentality and a reinforced public-private sector partnership for the growth of the economy. The 4th edition of the employers debate held in Douala under the theme transforming the Cameroonian economy, challenges, opportunities and strategies.
Still in economy, we take you to the Nyong and Ekele division of the Central Region, where business persons say their businesses are being affected because they cannot transport their farm products from the farm to the market because of the deplorable state of the road. Our reporter Mala Glory in the report, which comes up next, tells us more about the state of roads in Bot-Makak.
The farm-to-market roads network in the locality of Bot-Makak, the Nyong and Kele division, is in a very deplorable state. According to the local population, this has affected business activity and farming, which is their main occupation. They say the situation has slowed down the economy as farm products sometimes go bad. We sometimes spend a whole day to get to Bot-Makak, something very challenging. We can't carry out normal farm work, no construction projects. We are blocked everywhere. And due to this bad road network, the cost of transportation has increased while other areas remain inaccessible. One person spends at least 4,000 francs as transport fare from Bot-Makak to Bumniebel on a distance of only 18 kilometers. We can't even visit our neighboring villages due to the bad road. The people say agricultural products are mostly traded in small markets around the vicinity of farmers' farm, and this reduces the selling price of farm products, thus slowing down the economic development of Bot-Makak.
And a political analyst has described Cameroon as a blind state with several ghost workers. Aristide Mono was speaking on Equinoxe television during the Sunday program Droit de Réponse, and that was after numerous reports that there are several absentee workers in Cameroon who are being paid from state coffers. Let's have more with our staffman Innocent Aze.
October 13, the Minister of Public Service and Administrative Reforms, Joseph Lee, released a communique indicating the removal of 859 ghost workers from the public service. This being the result of the litigation phase of the physical headcounts of civil servants operation launched 2 years back, bringing to total 1,408 ghost workers fished out from the public service. Aristide Mono, a political analyst on Droit de Réponse, said, the ghost workers phenomenon is a well-fabricated fraudulent network by some government officials, citing an exemplary case of a police commissioner receiving salaries of 21 persons as far back as 2002 and 2005.
Et vous voyez que 21 salaires pendant des années, l'État n'a pas vu.
He expresses disappointment, baptizing Cameroon a blind state for not seeing this, but can only see people criticizing President Biya.
Collapse state, c'est-à-dire l'État qui n'arrive plus à satisfaire ou alors à répondre aux attentes d'un État.
On the part of CPDM's Natacha Fadimato,
qui ont migré ailleurs,
the state under President Paul Biya is not snoring over this issue, but seriously at work to clean the public service from ghost workers and recover lost funds to swell the public treasury for better use.
C'est insatisfaisant de savoir que l'État essaie de mettre hors d'état de nuire ces gens qui spolient les caisses de l'État.
CRM's Willy Menge is worried and seeks to know how the billions of francs CFA recovered years back have been used.
À quoi ont déjà servi depuis 2018 la récupération de tous ces milliards?
He questions further if the billions recovered have permitted the state to cure the budgetary deficit with a socio-economic impact.
Il y a l'objectivité d'une action et l'impact social-économique.
While he advances digitalization of the public service as a methodology to stop this phenomenon.
C'est la gouvernance électronique qui est importante. Il faut qu'on dématérialise nos administrations.
Natacha Fadimato of the CPDM thinks
et que les responsables qui sont
the best means to handle it is simply denunciation of ghost workers by those who know and defend them.
Fictive aux concernés pour se faire compter.
And now some experts in democracy say violations of human rights, absence of respect of the rule of law, sit-tight power syndrome, independence of the judiciary, and election rigging and fraud have seriously hampered the democratic progress of the African continent. However, there have been some remarkable advancements over the past years. And in the excerpt which comes up next, Dr. Christopher Famunyo, who is Senior Advocate or Senior Associate for Africa and Regional Director of the US-based National Democratic Institute for International Affairs, highlights some democratic steps taken by some African nations in this excerpt.
Started at NDI, there were only 4 African countries that were considered democratic in the sense of allowing for political parties to form. And those 4 countries were Senegal, Botswana, Mauritius, and the Gambia. But when you look at Africa today, you can see that well over 12 countries are considered fully democratic, and maybe 18 or 19 others are considered partially democratic, which makes for a total of 30. And I'm extremely proud of the fact that in these 30 countries that have made democratic progress in the past 2.5 decades, the institute that I represent, the National Democratic Institute, has had a level of engagement in those countries and has contributed positively to the changes that we see in those countries. It's, when you go into a country like South Africa and post-apartheid South Africa in the 90s, and people like Archbishop Desmond Tutu, now of blessed memory, come up to you and say, thank you NDI for helping us with Project Vote, helping train South Africans on how to engage in the electoral process, coming after decades of the exclusion of black South Africans in the political processes of their country. In the year 2000, we went to Senegal, and Senegal, like many of the other African countries, had very low representation of women in parliament. And we made the rounds. We went from political party to political party, and we said to them, we can make a commitment to you that if you nominate women to run for political office, we would train those women to be excellent candidates, and we'll make sure that they win their campaigns. And across the board, Senegalese political parties signed a joint agreement without waiting for a law to be passed, a joint agreement saying that they have committed to partner with NDI and that they will nominate at least 30% of women to run for local elections in Senegal in the year 2000. They nominated over 8,000 women. NDI trained all 8,000 women to run for election across party lines, and thousands of them got elected into local councils in Senegal in the year 2000. Today, it's those women who were elected at the local level who are now running for seats in parliament. And when you go to Senegal today, they are very proud of the fact that close to 48% of their representation in parliament is made of women.
And now we take you out of Cameroon, viewers. We told you in the headlines that floods continue in Nigeria. At least 600 persons have been reported dead in Nigeria as the floods continue to increase. The authorities in the flooded areas are rushing to get relief items to hundreds of thousands being evacuated from their submerged homes. More than 1.3 million people have been displaced by the disaster, which have affected people across 33 of Nigeria's 36 states. This information is confirmed by the nation's Humanitarian Affairs Ministry. And that was it for the news, viewers. Thank you for always being with us, but don't go away. Talking Points comes up next. Welcome back. Today we are talking about on the assistance of victims in general and victims in war zones in particular. And our guest tonight is Chief Justice Asonganyi Woko. He is a judge and a magistrate at the Boya Court of First Instance. Justice, thank you so much for accepting our invitation, and we begin right away with our first question. We might want to know, how exposed are victims in our society, especially those who find themselves in conflict zones?
Thank you for your question. Every citizen has certain rights citizens of every country have their human rights. And human rights are sets of rules which have been put in place, which are inherent. They belong to the individual because he is a human being. And if you take it down to situations of conflict or crisis, those rights are being violated. To go directly to your question, we are talking of the protection of rights of victims. Victims, meaning that they have their rights, their human rights violated. And in situations of violation, where do they run to? Where do they go to seek for solace? The courts are there to receive victims. They denounce the rights which have been violated. You can go, you seize the state council through a complaint. There are mechanisms which have been put down both at the international level and at the national level. There are laws put in place. In Cameroon, for instance, a victim, you could make your complaint before the police or gendarmerie of your area, or you seize the competent state council who orientate the complaint to an investigating unit for investigation. When it comes back, the state council being an expert, we examine it and determine what type of violation is it, and we seize the competent courts.
And now, Barrister, what are some of those steps a victim can take in order whenever his or her right is being violated, be it a victim in the war zone or victims as a whole? Barrister, if you're getting us, or Justice, if you're getting us, can you tell us what are some of those steps a victim can take if he or she realizes that his rights are being violated?
Of the victim being violated by state officials, those who are supposed to protect. I told you, if you do not denounce, how do we know that your rights have been violated? You must talk to somebody. You must talk, if it is, for instance, a brigade or in a police station that your right is being violated, but you must seek measures to open up. You can speak out to other persons. It is not only the investigative unit that exists. For instance, if you are talking that it was violated by a magistrate, there are mechanisms which are put in place. You can make a complaint against that magistrate. You can make a complaint against the investigative officers to his own boss. If you cannot go to his boss, you make a complaint to the competent authority, the legal department. It will go to the necessary services and investigations will be open. It is true some of them are powerful, but they can never be powerful against the state. If it is a magistrate, for instance, we have mechanisms. You can complain even at the Ministry of Justice. It is sent down for investigation and you will be investigated. And at the end, the truth will be known. If it is a police officer, you can complain before the state council. Even internal in the police, they have police the police. You can complain to police the police. The boss will receive the complaint. It will be forwarded for investigation. The thing is, the people usually don't speak out. And if you do not denounce, how is the state going to know that these violations are taking place? You have to come out, you have to talk to somebody, you have to talk to the competent authorities, and they will open up investigations that will necessarily reveal the truth.
Thank you, Justice. You're trying to elaborate there on what a victim should do if his or her right is being violated by an authority, be it a lawyer, be it a magistrate, or be it a police officer. And now, can you tell us what are some of the steps to be taken by a victim in a conflict area to protect his or her right?
In conflict situations, there are situations which have been provided by law. We usually talk of the international humanitarian law, which governs the situations of armed conflict, which can be international or non-international armed conflict. There are sets of rules which should go. Out of the conflict, what should be done is taken care of by the law, and each country sets down its own rules that must be respected. In Cameroon, if it is a criminal issue, it is dealt with by the penal code. But you must complain to the competent services for an investigation to be opened. The same if it is in a situation of armed conflict, the situation has just worsened because of the insecurity. But you must complain to the competent authorities for an investigation to be conducted. If you do not complain, how can investigations be conducted for us to know what is happening? You must denounce. In situations of crisis, you have rape, you have theft, you have kidnapping, you have all those things. If you do not report, you will not have your right being protected. You even have right to violation of right of life. We see people being killed every day. Family members must report. We see people being tortured. We see people even paying ransom. But they pay and we hear only later. You have to complain, and the competent services are there to assist them have their rights protected. If you do not complain, how do we know? The state is a machinery. It has all the institutions. You who have your rights violated have to complain so that the state will assist you. The state will never leave its own. The state is there to protect, have the obligation under the UN system to protect its citizens. And the state of Cameroon is doing just that at every level. But at certain times, people don't come out to speak. And if you don't speak, how will your rights be protected? It begins with you. Denounce. I'm being threatened. Someone kidnapped, someone threatened me. Investigations will be open. And in the course of the investigations, the perpetrators will be found and justice will be administered to them.
Thank you so much, Barrister. Difficult to speak out sometimes in conflict areas where the locals who are victims are usually caught between the devil and the deep blue sea. Thank you once again, Barrister, for being our guest tonight. You are a judge and magistrate at the Boya Court of First Instance. We hope to have you another time. And viewers, thank you so much for always being there. We have come to the end of the news on Equinoxe Television this evening. But don't go away. As usual, you have your favorite program in the evening. That would be in 30 minutes from now at 7 p.m. You will be with Serge Alain Otu and his guest. For now, bye-bye and see you tomorrow.
Equinoxe Télévision, au-delà de l'image, nous rendons compte.